All right. So everyone can see my iPhone here, correct? Thumbs up. Perfect. Um, the big thing with the iPhone is they've added the ability to add these today widgets to your home screen. This is, I think, what everyone is most excited about. Um, just the idea that you can add these widgets here to your home screen. These used to be available only on the Today view. And if you're not familiar with the Today view, if you go down to the bottom here where we have these row of screens, these are my different home screens that I have. The very last home screen is your Today view. The other thing that you can do is have different size widgets here. That's new in iOS 14 as well. You can create stacks of widgets, pile them on top of each other. And like I said, you can add them to your home screen. That's probably the biggest news. And this is actually how I have my personal iPhone set up exactly like this. And the reason is I have the Max, the iPhone 11 Max. I didn't get the new phone yet. And being that that's a bigger phone, to get up in the upper left-hand corner here, it's a stretch if you're trying to do it with one hand. Well, now what I can do is I can put all of my apps here within this area, and I can just reach over with my thumb and hold it with one hand, and I don't have to go up to an app here in the upper left-hand corner. So it allows me to kind of rearrange how I access my apps while giving me information, valuable information with these widgets. So same thing here. I put this one up at the top. I no longer have to reach my thumb all the way up to the top anymore to get to my apps. The apps are down below it here. So the way that you add these widgets is you tap and hold on any one of the app icons and or the widgets itself. You're going to get into that jiggly mode. This is what Apple calls the jiggly mode, where they jiggle and I can move things around. You're probably familiar with that. But also, this is where I can move my widgets around. And up at the top, you're going to see we have this plus. I tap on the plus. I get to my widget library. This is what I'm calling it, the widget library. I don't know if Apple has an official name for it. And you're going to see all these different widgets here. If you have third-party apps, you can also install widgets from third-party apps as long as the developer has them. And all you have to do to place one of these widgets here is just drag it out and place it where you want. That's all there is to it. If you want to remove it, you tap on the minus and you can remove it. But with that app library, I was just kind of showing you these are what I'm going to call Apple highlight widgets. But if you go down towards the bottom, you're going to have a list of widgets. This is really where you want to go. The reason is with these widgets here, you get different sizes, different options. So I added this reminders app here. It's the square. Well, if we go up and take a look at reminders while we're in the list here, you're going to see that I have different sizes here. So now what I can do is I can take, well, I want this size here, and I drag it up and place it where I want. In addition to that, some widgets, I'm going to go to the stocks here. I have this stocks widget here, but that's not the one that I want. If we go to the actual stocks, I actually have different styles even. If you recall, that one at the top there had multiple stocks in it. I think it was the stocks, might have been the clocks. But anyway, you're going to see that I have different styles here. This is the one that I want, and I drag that up and I place it where I want. Also, you can see you can fill up a screen with widgets, and then all of a sudden you don't have a lot of room for your app icons. Well, another thing you can do with these widgets is you can stack them. If you look here, you're going to see we have these 3 dots. This means that that is a stack. I can swipe through them and go through all the widgets. There's 3 widgets in the stack. You can have up to 10 widgets in a stack. So to create a stack, you go back into that jiggly mode, tap and hold on it, wait till they start jiggling. I go up to the plus in the upper left-hand corner, And let's see, all you have to do is take one of these widgets and drag it on top of another widget. You just, it's kind of like a deck of cards. You're taking one card and placing it on top of another card. The only catch to it is they all have to be the same size. So with these square ones here, I can only add square widgets to a square stack. So let's go and add this fitness one here. I have an Apple Watch, so I can drag it up here. And you're going to see that border, I don't know if you can see it. See how the border gets a little thicker? That's telling me that I'm adding it to that stack. Now I've just added that to that stack. Let's go and add one more. We're going to go with notes. I have to take the same size again. You can see the border got a little thicker. And now I have that widget added in there. And let's go with a little wider one. I want to add my photos to, whoops, I already have the photos in there. I'll show you a little tip for that one with weather, how you can have multiple widgets for the same size. And so let's go with clock here. I'm going to go with this one here. I drag it on top and tap on done. So now we can see we have more widgets in here and in here. This widget here says Holland. What I want to do is add another weather widget in here for, let's say, Hawaii, so then I know what time it is for you people. So what I need to do is I need to add another weather widget to it. So I just got to go with the same size, go to my weather. I drag it up. It says Holland. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So now I have two of them for Holland. But the other thing you can do with these widgets is you can edit them. And to edit them, all you have to do is just tap and hold on it. Come on, you can do it. Oh, I have to tap on done. Now I tap and hold on it, and you're going to see edit weather. This is going to edit this one weather widget. So now I type in here. Am I spelling that right? I don't think. Oh, there we go. Yep. Honolulu. So now, oh, you guys are having nice weather. Are you in Honolulu? Or yeah. But if we look here, I can now see my Holland weather, and I can see Honolulu. So you can have multiple widgets in a stack, which is really kind of nice. With the calendar, if I wanted to edit, so right now it's showing me all my calendars. I tap and hold on it. I go to edit calendar, and then I can turn off mirroring and select which calendars I want to add to that. So not all widgets are editable, but the ones that are, you just tap and hold on it, and or long press is what Apple calls it, and you'll see edit widget. And then from there, you can edit the information that it shows. The last thing I want to show you about these widgets, they have smart rotate with these stacks. I'm going to tap and hold, oops, let's try it again. Tap and hold or long press on it. And if I go to edit stack, I can see all the widgets in that stack. I can rearrange them by sliding these sliders up and down. But at the very top, you're also going to see we have smart rotate. When this is turned on, and it's on by default, I had that off because I was recording a thing on it. When this is turned on, what it's going to do is it's going to, the iPhone knows how you use the iPhone. It's called Siri, I guess is how Apple phrases it. Knows what you're doing. And let's say you check the stocks in the morning when you first wake up, the iPhone knows this. What it will start doing is it'll show the stocks widget in the morning. Let's say you work out in the evening. What it'll start doing is showing you the fitness widget in the evening based on your activity. And this is all with that smart rotate. So what will happen is these widgets by default will change depending on what time of day it is and what you're doing. If you don't want it to do that, if you want to select what widget goes on there, what you have to do is you have to make sure that you turn, I'm going to go to edit stack again, you have to turn off smart rotate. And again, that is on by default. So that's a look at the new widgets. I think the smart widgets are really clever. And I love my tip of the day, especially if you have a large phone. You probably know that it's just a pain to get to the apps that are in the upper left-hand corner. Well, now when you do something like this layout here, you can get at all of the apps with one hand here just by placing a couple of widgets in there. So you can kind of rearrange how your iPhone is displaying all of your apps. Um, let's talk about the home screens here. So we have multiple home screens. What we can do is we can hide these. My brother, and I'm not exaggerating, I think he has down here at the bottom probably about 10 different dots, and the screens are full. He doesn't throw away any apps. So what he has to do is he has to, when he's going for an app and he doesn't want to search for it, he has to swipe, 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 until he finds it. Well, now what you can do when you have multiple home screens like this is if you tap and hold on these dots here, you're going to see it changed. Now all I have to do is just slide my finger across it, and I'm swiping through all of my home screens. So if you have a lot of home screens and you want to get to that last home screen, instead of swipe, 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 long press, drag your finger, I'm there. I want to get to the middle. Long press, I'm in the middle. I want to get to the first home screen, long press, I'm at the first home screen. Real quick shortcut, and I do not see a lot of videos on that, so I think it's more of one of those things that people will discover as they use it. The other thing you can do is you can hide home screens. So let's say these are seldom used apps. You don't want to get rid of them, but you necessarily don't want them to be shown. Well, if you tap and hold on these dots again, oh, I got it wrong. I tap and hold and go into the jiggly mode. Sorry, I'm still learning as well. Now what I do is I tap on these row of dots. We can see all of my home screens here. All of them are checked, which means I can see all of them. I do not want to see these bottom three, my last three. These are apps that I seldom use. What you have to do is you have to tap on the check mark. Don't tap on the square here. If you tap on the square, it's going to take you to that home screen. That's not what you want to do. You need to tap on the check mark to deselect it. So I'm going to deselect these. So now when I tap on done in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see I only have 3 home screens. I didn't delete those apps. They're just hidden. So now I just have my 3 home screens. So how do I get to those apps that are hidden? Well, Apple added as the very last home screen, if you recall, to get to your Today view, go to the first home screen and then swipe again one more time. Well, now if you go to the last home screen and swipe one more time, you have an app library. This is where you can see all of your different apps. It categorizes them into folders. You cannot control what folders these go into, but I can see what my recently added apps were. I have suggestions based on what I am doing. That's at Siri Knowledge. I see my apps for creativity. I have travel apps. I have my social apps. To open up any one of these apps, I tap on the big icon. So if I wanted to open up my settings app, I tap on the big icon. If I want to open up the folder, the utilities folder here as an example, what I do is I tap on the 4 little icons. So if I tap on the App Store, it's going to open up the App Store. I tap on the calculator, it's going to open up the calculator. But I tap on this, now I can see everything in that folder. Tap outside, it brings me back. So that's all nice and dandy, I guess you could say. But it's still putting them into applications. In all honesty, what I like is I like to have I like a list. I want to see a list of all of my apps. All I have to do when I'm looking at this view here is swipe down, and I have a list. And now it's in alphabetical order. These are all the apps on my iPhone. I can search up here for any one of them. If I have a lot of apps, I can swipe up, tap on any one of them to open it. So here's a little trick. What you could do is put all of your favorite apps on the first home screen, or maybe put them on the first two if you use some widgets here. And then go into the jiggly mode, tap on the bars at the bottom, hide all of your other ones. I'm just going to hide everything but my home screen, my first home screen. So now I have my favorite apps here on my first home screen. I have them in my dock. I want to get to another app. Swipe to the left, I'm looking at my library. Swipe down, I'm looking at my list. I go up. So it's a real easy way to keep your iPhone really nice and clean. You just have one or two home screens, maybe three home screens. I think on my personal phone, I have three home screens. And then all you have to do is, if you just put it down into one or two, you want to find that app that you don't know, where it is. Swipe. You can go to one of these folders, swipe down. You got a list view, and there's all of your apps. You could have 100 apps in here. It doesn't really matter. And again, you can also just tap on the letter here to go to that in alphabetical order. So I think the app library, of course, like I say, I like a list view. I go out for pizza and beers with my brother every Tuesday, and I'd say every other Tuesday, I give him a little bit of grief on how his iPhone is organized. I've actually hidden some of his stuff, and then he yells at me. Doesn't like it, but I'm trying. Now, the iPad does not have this library. The iPad, you can put these different size widgets on the left side, but you do not have this nice little library here. I'm kind of hoping that comes maybe next year. I'd really like that. Because the iPad, you can get a lot of apps on your iPad as well. So that's a look at the widgets and the smart widgets and how it works with the home screen, and how you can easily navigate with your different home screens, as well as hide your different home screens. Does anyone have any questions on that? Let me pull up the chat. Where's my chat? For chat, there it is. Okay. So let's see here. Oh, somebody asked, do I have a, so I have on my site, I have most of the videos up for the iPad version, and I just started recording the iPhone stuff about all this, and you're going to start seeing those next week. So somebody asked about that. Yeah, and then Ross, alphabetical list of apps is something that's been missing. I agree. And I don't know if anybody on the Apple Watch, you can put your apps in a list view as well. I don't know how many people know that. Instead of those little icons, you can do that. Let's see here. So that is the App Store. The other thing that or the home screen. The other thing that is really cool, and it's in its early stages, so hopefully I can demo it here, is the reason why we get a lot of apps is because we download them for single use. I want to order something from Panera Bread. I have to download their app, order it, and then all of a sudden I don't order anything from Panera Bread again, and now that app is on my phone, taking up space, cluttering it up. I have an electric car. I need to go and pay for it when I want to charge it at a public parking space, as an example, ChargePoint, and I have to download the ChargePoint app. I use it maybe twice a year. And it clutters up my iPhone. Well, what Apple has added is called clips, and these are basically the same thing as apps, but they have to be under a certain size so people can download them immediately, and then they disappear. They're not actually an app. So as an example, with Panera Bread, I want to order something from Panera Bread. I don't actually have to download the app. It downloads the clip. They have to be under a certain size. I don't know what the size is, 10 megabytes or something, but something that doesn't take up a lot of data. So it loads quick, and then you can do what you need to do, order, pay for charging my car, whatever it is, and then the clip goes away and it doesn't clutter up your iPhone anymore. So I'm going to show you how that works. I need to go to the Maps app. We can do it with the Maps app as a demo. Like I say, not a lot of people are using this, but I think you're going to see it more because what it can do is it can detect where you are, and then that clip, that app, like if I go to a charge point charger for my car, what it will do is it will detect that I have an iPhone, and it'll automatically load the clip or tell my phone to load the clip. So um, I'm in my Maps app, and let's go to Panera Bread. So I'm going to go to the one here in Holland. I'm in Michigan here. I have directions and all that good stuff. But if we go up here, where is it? Oh, right up here. You're going to see order food. When I tap on order food, it's going to download that app clip. Now I could swipe up and you're going to see I can get the Panera Bread app. I don't have that app. That's why it says get. I don't want to download the app. I just want to order some food and be done with it. I don't need it to be on my iPhone. So when I tap on order food, I open, this is the clip. I open it up. This is not the app. It didn't download the app. What I can do now is I can just order my food here from this clip. And once I order the food, that clip disappears and it is no longer on my iPhone. So that's the new clips. You're like say, you're not going to see a lot of it in the beginning, but I'm hoping this really catches on because this will help reduce all of this app clutter that you have. Um, you no longer have to download the app for Panera Bread or ChargePoint or whatever. So that's the new clips, and you don't have to access them through the Maps app. I just found that you could access them through the Maps app. Actually, I think you'll be able to do it with RFID. You hold your phone up to something, and there, all of a sudden, it'll open back up. So a couple of questions as I'm looking at this. Somebody asked, does the widget thing eat up battery power? Nope. As far as I know, it does not eat up any battery power. And if you can't find an app quickly, you do not have to go to the library. I can still swipe down and search. Now you're going to notice that this Panera Bread actually let's bring us back to that. This Panera Bread, I didn't download the app. You're going to see that has a little blue border around it. This means that it is a clip. So again, it's not on my iPhone. I tap on it. It didn't download it. It opened up that clip, but it is not anywhere. If I go to the library here, it has the clip, but it is not the app. It's not taking up much space on my phone at all. So that's how the new clips work along with the apps. What else do I really like? Let's see here. Edit stack widgets. With Mail and Safari, we can now set, this was what everyone was excited about. And you can now set your default browser and your default Mail app. In other words, if you use Google Chrome, you are now able to set Google Chrome as your default browser. To do that, you first have to download the app that you want to use as your default browser, and Apple does have to approve it. And then you go to the Settings app. You find the settings for that particular browser. So I have DuckDuckGo here as a browser. If I want to set this as my default browser, I tap on Default Browser, and now I can set it for DuckDuckGo. If I had Chrome on here, I'd be able to set Chrome as my default browser. I personally like Safari. I don't. I also work at a school. I didn't mention that in the in my little intro on me. We have a private school about a mile away from me. A couple of the people that work there, the tech people, I worked with at Apple, and I help them out about 8 hours a week, fill in for them, that kind of thing. And one of the things that they're all Apple-based. A lot of people use Chrome, and we're constantly saying, don't use Chrome, don't use Chrome, don't use Chrome. It's not good on the battery. I don't know how it is on the iPhone, but on the Mac, it is a battery hog. Google has admitted it. They're working on fixing it. And I just think Safari works fine. For the most part, it does everything that I need it to do. On Safari, Oh, so you can set it as your default mail app or browser. Same thing with the mail app. I do use Spark as my default mail app on my personal phone. We have a little bit more flexibility with Spark. You can snooze mails, emails. You can, just a few more things that I like about it. So all I have to do is just go to the default mail app and tell it to use Spark. And then when you click on an email link, it'll open up in Spark as opposed to mail. So those were a couple of things that people were really excited about. My guess is, and I'm hoping this happens in the next iOS update, I'm talking a year from now, is maybe we'll be able to do this with Calendar. Fantastical is a great calendar. And maybe we'll be able to do this with the camera. I don't know how many people use their iPhone for cameras, but there's an app out there called Halide. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Halide, made by just a small group of developers, but it just gets overwhelming praise for how they work with their camera and all that. And it'd be nice to use that as the default camera. The iPhone camera is great. Don't get me wrong, but you can go into like full manual mode and all that with the Halide camera if you really want to play around with photography on the iPhone. So hopefully that'll come down the road where you can set that. Um, Safari has a couple of nice little things in it. Um, First of all, you can now translate websites. I am going to go to Telemundo here. So we can see that this is not in English here. I want to translate this. To translate a website, and you can do this on the iPad and you can do this on the Mac. Actually, I believe you can do this in Catalina Safari. You will definitely be able to do this in Big Sur. To translate it, you just go up to the double A's in the upper left-hand corner, and you're going to see translate. It's going to translate it to your preferred language. I'll show you how you set your preferred language. It's in the settings app, really simple. So in this case, it's going to translate it to English. And now we can see it translated it to English. If I were to tap on that article, you can see it is not in English, and now it is. To bring it back, you're going to see that it is in translate mode here. To bring it back, you tap on it, and then you go to View Original. And now it's back at the original language. To set your preferred language, all you have to do is just go to the Settings app. And then you go to, I believe it's Safari. And I think it's somewhere in here. Okay. You'll have to, let's see here. I don't know where that is then. I thought it was in Safari. All right. I'll have it in my tutorial. I know that. Or actually, you can search here. Let's see if this does it. This is nothing new. There it is. Preferred language. Tap on that. A nice way to, this is nothing new, but a nice way, there's a lot of settings in here. And, Apple does move things around. For years, one setting will be in one thing, and then all of a sudden they move it to another one. To search for a setting, and I've been doing this more and more, you go down and then you're going to see search. And then you can search for a setting. Where will that come in handy? My next tip. On the iPhone with iOS 14, you can now set the back of your iPad as a button when you tap it. You can have it do something. To do that, you go back into the Settings app, and I'm just going to tap, go up to search here and type in tap. It's an accessibility option. Let's see here, tap behavior. I know it's an accessibility option here. Oh, I should have looked this up. Where'd it go? I'm sorry. I should have looked that up.
Dan, is it right there under accessibility shortcuts?
Accessibility. Oh, thank you. Thank
Can't
you.
remember where. No, is that
Okay.
it?
So here's where thank you very much. You're going to see it says triple click the side button for whatever. I must have maybe this is only available on the newer phones. If I go with my my personal phone, there's an option here under this setting to where you can double tap the back of the iPhone, and what it will do then is you can have it open up the camera or something like that. I am pulling up my iPhone. You can't see it, but I just want to make sure I'm giving you the right instructions. General accessibility. So if you were to go to accessibility and then triple click side button, no. Yeah, see, it just did it on mine.
Well,
I want to
Dan,
show you the
it's
speed.
under Dan. Sorry, it's under accessibility and touch.
Accessibility
And touch, and then it's all the way at the bottom.
Touch. There it is. All right. So what he's talking about, thank you once again. If you go to accessibility and you go to touch, this is why I say things are hard to find. So many things that this thing can do. You're going to see at the very bottom back tap. Right now it is off. When I tap on this, if I want I'm going to use triple tap. Double tap, I've actually found that it's pretty easy to double tap your iPhone. So then all of a sudden it could open something up. So I would recommend just trying out the triple tap first if you're going to do this. And then let's just go with the app switcher. So now I want to switch apps. You can't see it, but if I tap on the back of my iPhone 3 times, 1, 2, 3, I did not swipe up. Tap on the back, 1, 2, 3. So you can set what happens when you triple tap it. You could set it to, let's see here, volume up, volume down, scroll up, scroll down, control center, go to your home screen, lock the screen, mute the phone, whatever. So you have a lot of different options in here. And you can even set it up for a shortcut. So if you use shortcuts, I'm not going to get into shortcuts because I'm still trying to figure them out myself. But with shortcuts, what you can do is create your own shortcuts too. Like as an example, open the camera. And then when you triple tap it, it'll open up that shortcut, which then goes and opens up the camera. It's almost like Automator on the Mac. I don't know how many people are familiar with AppleScript and Automator. Shortcuts is getting to be in that genre. You can do quite a bit with it. So, does it work if you with cases? I'm going to assume so. In all honesty, I don't have a case on my phone. I don't. My wife doesn't use a case on her iPhone. We're pretty rare in that area, but I don't know. I guess I would just try it. I'm going to say it probably varies from case to case, which case you're using. So, but that's a nice little thing to where you can just triple tap or double tap. You can actually have double tap do one thing and triple tap do another thing. So, which is kind of nice. Can't do it on the iPad. Does not have that option for the iPad. Let's see here. I think there's a new Translate app that Apple added with iOS 14. So this is outside of translation on the website. I tap on this, and now I can enter in text here, hello, and it tells me, hola. So now what you're able to do is translate text on the iPhone. This is a separate app that comes with iOS 14. So you may have to hunt for it. I don't know if it puts it in the utilities folder or whatever, but it's just called Translate. So that's some stuff on the iPhone. On the iPad, pull up my iPad here. We have a lot of the same things. Um, go back, let's share my screen. Let's get out of full screen here. Hopefully it'll pull up. And you can do it. There it is. All right, I'm actually going to pull my iPhone to the side because that's making my iPad smaller. All right, with the iPad, we have a lot of the same things. You can see we have different size widgets. We can create stacks of widgets. The only thing we can't do is we can't move our widget over to where the apps are. They have to stay in the side view here. The side view you can hide. If I tap and hold on a widget or an app icon, get to that jiggly mode basically again, you're going to see we have keep on home screen. This is for this today view on the left side. I turn that off. Now you can see I can hide that today view. I swipe over to view the today view, swipe back to bring it back. But again, I cannot put any widgets into this area here. I like to see the today view. So I'm going to turn it back on. But outside of that, you're going to see we have these row of dots. This is another stack. I can move them around, all that good stuff. We have the plus in the upper left-hand corner. That gets me to my widget library. Virtually the same. So that's how widgets work on the iPad. Very similar. It's just that you can't mix them in with your apps. With the iPad, I also, let's see here, the iPad, they introduce, and I love this side of it, they introduce the sidebar. Now it sounds silly, a sidebar, okay, kind of thing, but it brings the iPad, in its early stages was basically just a big iPhone. Okay, now this is kind of fun. This is nice, but it didn't really highlight what the iPad could do. And the way that I always described it, like with iOS 13, prior to maybe iOS 12, the iPad was in its teenage years. 13, it's in its adult, it's getting to be 18, it kind of knows what it wants to be, but it's quite not sure yet. I'd say it's in its college years now. It's starting to be okay. I got this, kind of thing. And the sidebar is one area where I think it's kind of flexing its muscle a little bit. And I'm going to open up the Files app. You're going to see I have my sidebar here on the left side. And the sidebar, all I have to do is just select anything, and I can see, any location or whatever. I can hide the sidebar by tapping on the icon in the upper left. And if I want to modify it, I tap on the More button here, and I can modify it. We've seen pieces of this throughout the iPad, but now it's more unified. I'm going to go to my Photos app. This is where it really shines. In the Photos app, we used to have a tab bar. Now we got the sidebar. This is more Mac-like. I can go to any one of my albums. I can view any type of media type. I want to see all my favorite photos. I tap on favorites. I'm looking at my favorite photos. I want to see them on a map. I tap on places. I can see them on a map. So it's more Mac-like. I can easily just swipe up and down to get to where I want to go. On top of that, what they added with this, if I go to my favorites here, I'm looking at all of my favorite photos and videos. Let's say I just wanted to look at just my photos. I can now filter within a filter. So I'm favoriting these. I'm looking at a filter, basically. all my favorites. And if we go to the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see these three dots. That's the More button. And we have Filter. And I just want to see my photos. Now I'm just looking at my favorite photos. I could do the same thing with videos. I can just look at my favorite videos. I can look at only the videos and photos that I've edited. So we can now, further filter these things. So I could go into an album here and find all my favorite or all my videos in a specific album or all my photos in a specific album. The other thing that they added, this is pretty big. This was at Disney. Oh, I hope I'll be able to, I'm not going to be able to show you because I'm using AirPlay. So you can't you can't see what's on my iPad now. But if you were to swipe up when you're looking at a photo, like you're ready to edit it, you're going to see add a caption. Trust me, it's there. So now you can add a description to photos on the iPad. You could only do this on the Mac prior to iOS 14. You can do the same thing on the iPhone. Tap on a photo, tap on a video, swipe up, and you're going to see add a description or add a caption. I forget but it's the same thing. And then if you use an iCloud photo library, that description caption will show up on your Mac as well. So I think that's probably a fairly common question that I would get is, can you add captions or add a description to photos on the iPhone or the iPad? And I always had to say no. Well, now you can. Just tap on it, swipe up, you'll see it. It's all right there. What else? Am I going too fast or anything? All good? Let's see here. I translate websites on Safari. You can do that on the iPad as well. You can set your default mail app on the iPad as well, your default browser on the iPad. So if you do want to use Chrome or any other browser, Firefox, you can do that as your default browser, just like you can with the iPad or the iPhone. Privacy report in Safari, and this is on the Mac, the iPad, and the iPhone. I'm going to open up Safari. This is another reason why I like Safari. What we get now when we go to a site is a privacy report. So I'm going to go to CNN. They probably abuse your privacy a little bit. Well, we're going to find out how much. If you go up to the double A's in the upper left-hand corner, this is where we could translate the site. You're going to see privacy report. So Safari is telling me that it prevented 35 trackers on this website from tracking me. So CNN had 35 trackers on this site, and Safari blocked all 35 of them. If you want to see what they are, tap on it, and you actually get what I'm going to call a full report. In the last 30 days, 77 trackers have been prevented from profiling me. Now, this is a demo iPad, so it doesn't sound like it's that much. I'm going to open it. You can't see it, but I'm just going to go to Safari on my iPhone and pull up that privacy report. I've had in the last 30 days 148 trackers prevented from profiling me. Websites that have contacted trackers, 75% of the websites have contacted trackers. The most contacted tracker is doubleclick.net. That's Google. That's their advertising. And that's basically what they're doing is they're kind of seeing where you're going and all that, and they want to feed you ads. Doubleclick.net is owned by Google, and that's one of the tools that they use. I can swipe up, and I can see all of the different websites that I've used in the last 30 days and how many trackers. You can even see that I use a tracker. I use Facebook and I use Google Analytics, but that's it. I think the Google thing is 2 of them here. I can see what trackers and then what websites that tracker was used on. So we have a nice little tracker report there, and basically, Apple's can't stop everything. These advertisers are pretty tricky. I mean, you're talking about Google and them; they're gonna try to work their way around it. So they keep going back and forth, but Apple is trying, and if you want to try to keep things private, use Safari, and then you'll be able to see which trackers have you know Chrome is not going to do this because that's how they make their money. So you're not going to see this kind of privacy restrictions in Google. Actually, Apple is going to go a lot further with this. It is built into the operating systems. They can block a lot more, but Facebook and a couple other companies said that they could lose up to 50% of their advertising dollars if Apple really went as far as where they wanted to go. So Apple backed down. I'm kind of hoping that they are giving them a little bit of time to figure out and what to do in the future. And I'm hoping that Apple actually goes that far and blocks a lot more. They can block a lot more. They just decided under a little bit of pressure not to implement everything. So that's a little rumor that went around. Okay. Tips on using the cursor, somebody asked about. Joan just gave me a heads up on time. So if you go to your settings, go to search, go to cursor, you're going to see we have a few options for cursor. Again, what I would recommend doing if you want to see if the iPad or the iPhone has something, search for it. Even the Mac, search for it. With these searches, it's really clever how they do it. So on the Mac, it's called a desktop picture. On Windows, it's called wallpaper. And on the iPad and iPhone, what is it called? Wallpaper. You'd say you wanted to search for the desktop picture. Let's see if, Apple. Okay. On the Mac, if you search for wallpaper, it's going to pull up desktop picture. I guess on the iPad and the iPhone, they haven't got that smart yet. So hopefully that'll come in the future. I'll show you another one of my favorite things, especially on the iPad. This is coming out on BigSur, and iPhone iOS 14 has it, but I think it's really going to be helpful in BigSur and in Maps. They have guides. So open up Maps. Let's say I was going to Honolulu. I don't know anything about it. If we look here, let's see if maybe they don't have guides. And okay, I'm going to use my old standard, San Francisco. If we look here, you're going to see it says San Francisco guides. When I go to see more, I can see all of these different guides here that San Francisco has, and I can cruise through them. So I want a bike. I can tap on Bay's best bike trails for kids. It shows me where they are on the map, which is really cool. And if I want to save any of them, I can create my own guide. I tap on the plus, create a new guide. So we'll call it SF Trip. Create. So now I've just created my own guide. So Golden Gate Park. Yeah, that sounds cool. Let's see here. Oh, Redwood. We got to see the Redwood. So I want to put that in my guide. I just put it into my SF Trip. I'm going to close this guide. Let's keep going here. Let's see. Let's go with food trucks. I love food trucks. So here's another guide. And fish and chips. Well, need to check that one out. Tap on the plus. I add it to my guide. We'll go with Tacos, Mexican food is my favorite food. Tap on the plus, add it to my guide. We'll go with one more. Best trails. Swipe up. I can read about them. You're going to see we have find out more. So I just kind of go through here, find which one I want, add it to my guide. So now I have my own guide that has a few different things. To find your guide now through these other guides, I close all this. I swipe, whoop, close it. You're going to see my guides. And if I go to see all, I have my own that I just created. It has all of the places in there that I added. I tap on any one of them to read more. On top of that, it just added them to all the map here. So I can actually see which one, there's the Codmother Fish and Chips food truck. I can get directions to it. So it's almost like you're creating your own interactive guide. I think this was really, really cool. So that's some of my favorite things with the iPad and the iPhone. Let's go to the Mac. I'm going to move this out of the way. And let's just move, you don't need that. So this is Mac OS BigSur. You're going to see it has a little bit of a different look. I mean, I'm going with the background here, but if you look at the dock, you're going to see that that dock looks a little different. The icons are just a little bit different. They have a little bit more of a shadow on it. It's growing on me. But really, if I open up a new window, this is where they really changed the look. It, I would say it has more of an iPad look to it. I wasn't sure if I would like it at first, to be honest with you, but it's grown on me. I like it. It's fresh. Now when I use this and I go back to Mac OS Catalina, it feels like I'm working on an operating system that's just a couple of years old, or something. It's like, all right, I can see where they're going with this. Now, saying that, not everything is great with it. One of my favorite things to do, this is a little tip. I'm in my documents folder here. One of my favorite things to do is, if you're in Mac OS Catalina, Mojave, High Sierra, Sierra, going back years, when you look at the top of the window, you're going to see that in the very center, you're going to have an icon there. And what you can do is you can actually click on that icon, click and drag it, move it around to put that folder in the trash. You can basically interact with it. You're going to see we do not have an icon here. If I hover over this and wait a second, there it is. So basically it's adding a couple of different steps to it. Okay, I guess that's okay, but let's see here. Yeah, there it is. So what I like to do is, if you hold down the Command key and click on this, you can actually traverse through the folders. Now I'm looking at Dan's tutorials. Now what I have to do is I have to wait a second, then go Command key, then click that. So nothing too big, but that's the new Finder window. They changed the Messages app. This is really nice. And you're going to see I have my messages here just like before, but I didn't show you on the Mac and the iPad. What I'm able to do with these is pin them. So Beth, my wife, I want her conversation to always be at the top. It's almost like you want to favorite them. If I swipe over here to the right, we have this little yellow pin. Now she's always at the top. My friends, I'm constantly conversing with them. I swipe that over to the right. Now my friends are, and you can do this on the Mac, on the iPad and the iPhone Messages app as well. So now it's really easy to get to Beth's messages, really easy to get to my friends' messages because they're pinned, especially if you have a lot of conversations going. Again, being that this is my demo, I don't have a lot of conversations, but if I were to show you my phone, my actual phone, this list would be long. Well, now I can always find Beth's stuff at the top, friend stuff at the top. I have my family with my brothers and sisters and my mom. That's always at the top, so I can always have access to quick, easy access to that conversation. The other thing that is really cool with the Messages app in Big Sur is if you're familiar with the Messages app on the iPhone and the iPad, you're going to see that I have this little icon here. What I am able to do is now add Memoji stickers. Yeah, okay. But I'm able to add images and I'm able to add message effects. So I click on this and what I'm able to do, where to go? This is in beta. Oh, I didn't type in a message here. So let's see here. I go hi. So I'm going to type this out to Beth. And now what I can do is I can send it with love. I can send balloons just like you can on the iPad and the iPhone. So we have a lot of the same options. Once I select it, click on the arrow. So I have those same options. So my guess is what you're going to see down the road is the full-on app store here, just like what you see with the iPad and the iPhone. So this is their way of getting into it. But I like that. I like the idea that they're starting to move them all, everything's going to have similar features. With Big Sur, you're also going to be able to run iPad apps on Big Sur. You don't read a lot about this because it's not public yet. I mean, obviously Big Sur isn't out in the public yet, but Apple has announced, they publicly announced that if someone has an iPad app, they can now sell it on the Mac App Store. So you'll be able to see if the developer wants it, you'll be able to see some of your favorite developers or favorite apps on the Mac, even if they're on the iPad. And I think this will be nice. What it'll do is hopefully bring bring that iPad up a little bit more because we can do more on the Mac. So hopefully what it'll do is it'll elevate that iPad, maybe get it into its 30s to where it's like making a living and, kind of doing all of its own and all that. So somebody said touch gestures on the Mac. I absolutely agree. They ridicule me over at the school, but I have an iPad. And so when I'm sitting on the couch, I will just go in there and start going away with touching the screen and all that. And out of habit, I'll do that on the Mac, even when I'm at the school. And they're just like, "What are you doing?" Kind of thing. Like, I'm waiting for that day. I'm hoping they figure out a way to do that. So I'd love to see touch gestures on the Mac, fingerprints and all. I don't care. And with Safari, we have the privacy report Control Center. We now have a Control Center on the Mac. If you're familiar, you're on the iPad and the iPhone. Let me bring my iPad out here. If I swipe down on the upper right-hand corner, I have my Control Center. This is where I can set my Wi-Fi and do not disturb and all that good stuff. We're probably all really familiar with that. iPhone, same thing. Well, lo and behold, if I go to the upper right-hand corner here, I have a Control Center. This I really welcome. If you were to see my real account, I have so many menu bar icons up here for different things that I use. When I do screen recordings, I have an icon for that. And when I copy stuff, I have an icon for that. And what you can now do is you can move these into the Control Center. You'll be able to move some of them into the Control Center. Here's my screen mirroring, my keyboard brightness, Wi-Fi, all that stuff is here in my Control Center. And when I go to my system preferences, and I go to dock and menu bar, I have options for my Control Center, and I no longer want to, since my Wi-Fi is in the Control Center, there's no reason for me to have it up here in my menu bar. I turn it off. I can still access it from the Control Center, so there's no reason to have it up here in the menu bar. Bluetooth, can see that's off in the menu bar. There's no reason for, unless you access it a lot. And if you do, turn it on. And now we have Bluetooth in my menu bar. But if you don't use it, leave it in your Control Center. So you have all these different options here. I don't know if I'm hoping that third-party apps will be able to access this. So we'll see on that. I haven't read anything on that. And being that it's still in beta, there's not anything that's coming out with it. But this is I really like this control center. If you're used to the notification center on the Mac, you're going to see we do not have an icon. I don't know if you can see it, but there's no icon here for control center or notification center. It's still there though. You have to go in the very corner and then it shows up. And you're going to see the notification center looks like the today view. We have our widgets here. I can click on that and there's all my widgets for, or my notifications for Reflector, which is how I'm showing you my iPad and my iPhone. So we still have our notification center here. We just have to go in the very upper right-hand corner, or if you have a trackpad, all you have to do is just go to the very far edge of your trackpad, the far right edge, and then swipe in with 2 fingers. All I'm doing is just going to the right edge of my trackpad and just moving 2 fingers, and I can pull in that those notifications. So, how are we? Let's see. I'm going to stop sharing here. Questions. I forgot to leave time for questions, and I don't want to get away from that. I think I got through a couple of them. BigSur security settings going to be complex? I don't think they are. They're just just adding a few more options in there. I think as they add more options, it actually simplifies it because you weren't exactly sure what Apple was doing. Now you can kind of get an idea of what they're trying to do by adding more. Why am I not, here's just a random question, why am I not getting syncing of contacts between the iPhone and the iPad? You want to make sure that you are signed in with the same iCloud account on both of those devices. And you want to make sure, go into the settings app, go into your iCloud and go to the syncing and just make sure that you can have iCloud on all those accounts, but that doesn't mean that your Mac is set up to sync between them, you know, your messages and all that. So you have to go in and turn those on individually. So you just tap on, go into your settings app, tap on iCloud, and then you're going to see what I call services: calendar, messages, photos, files. Turn on whichever ones you want to have on, and then hopefully they start syncing. I have seen it with mail where people have questions on mail. It's not syncing between different devices. My recommendation for that is go to the webmail part of it. So with, let's say it's iCloud, I'll pick on Apple's thing. Go to iCloud.com, delete a message from there, and then see if it deletes it from your devices. Basically, what we need to do is we need to find out any kind of troubleshooting. We need to figure out where the disconnect is. So we need to narrow it down. So a good way of doing that with mail is go to the webmail version. So you could go to mail.google.com if it's Google. Delete it from there and then see if it deletes it from your other 2 devices. If it deletes it from one device, guess what? We just figured out that it's a device issue because it's working for one and not for the other. So now we know it's not necessarily a mail problem. We just figured out it's something with that iPhone or something. So if it works on the iPad and it works on gmail.com, doesn't work on the phone, now we can start figuring out, okay, what is it on the phone? Maybe delete the account, add it back in. But that's basically what we're trying to do when we troubleshoot is narrow it down to where it's a predictable little issue that we can kind of tackle. And that's one way of doing it, is going to the cloud version. Somebody asked, could iOS 14 be responsible for requiring the replacement of a battery? I have not heard that. And I will be honest, in past versions of iOS, when they first came out with it, they ate the battery. I'm not going to say they caused a battery to be replaced, but they used more battery power, which hereby made you, had to replace the battery because your battery didn't last as long. They were just more power hungry. I have not heard that about iOS 14. iOS 13, when that came out a year ago, was a mess from a developer, from our side of the story. Developers really had a lot of issues with it, and Apple knew that. They immediately came out with 13.2. It was a little bit of a mess, and they learned their lesson. It seems there has not been a lot of issues with iOS 14 that I've read. I haven't heard of any battery issues. I'm not saying there isn't any, but I don't know. What you can do is if you go to the settings app and then you open up the battery, you'll be able to check the health of your battery. That's new in iOS 13, I think. But you'll be able to check the health of your battery. Typically, batteries last about 2 years, but it all depends on how you use it. Also, what Apple introduced with iOS 14, I don't think, maybe it was mid 13. The way that batteries work, lithium ion batteries, this can be your Mac, this can be your iPhone, this can be your car if you have an electric car, if it uses lithium ion batteries, which, Tesla, the Bolt, Chevy Bolt, they use lithium ion batteries. If you charge them to 100%, it's not good for the battery. So what Apple now does is they charge it to like 80%. And they kind of know what you're doing. They're using machine learning, and if they know that you're going to need a full charge, it'll charge it fully. I don't know how they can predict that. Like I say, it's machine learning. They have an algorithm that does all that. But batteries are not charged up to 100% typically anymore. My car, like I say, I do have an electric car, and I charge it to 90% as the top that I charge it. That's what the manufacturer recommends. So that's what I do. If I'm going somewhere, I will charge up to 100%. But you don't want to leave it at you don't want to do that all the time, and you don't want to leave it at 100% all the time. So same thing with the iPhone. So it could be a combination of a lot of things why a battery goes dead. But just go into the settings app, go to battery, and you'll be able to see what the battery health is on it. And let's see, any BigSur to watch interfaces? Nope. It's all done through the iPhone yet. Can't do it through the iPad, can't do it through the Mac. The iPhone is starting to become a little more, the Apple Watch is starting to become a little more independent. It has its own app store. And they came out with I think it's called a child mode or something, to where you can set up multiple Apple Watches with one iPhone for different people. So I think eventually the Apple Watch will be on its own, where you don't need to have an iPhone. That'd be my guess. But no, BigSur has nothing to do. The Apple Watch can unlock your screen, things like that. That's about it. But it can't set up any settings or anything like that. So, iCloud.com works great for mail, but contacts hang me up. Try to figure out, like I say, see if you have multiple devices, see if it's one device that is always doing that. And if it's just one device, then we need to figure out why it's on that device. And that could be just disconnecting from the account and adding it back in. But that's the first thing, is we need to figure out where that disconnect is. So that's what that would. And usually what I do with members of my site, for those of you who are not familiar with my site, it is a membership based. I don't do any advertising. I don't do much on YouTube. It's a membership based. That's how I get my revenues, through memberships. It's $48 a year. But if you use, I didn't tell Joan this, if you use the coupon code Mahalo, and you will get 30% off. So you'll get it for about $30 a year, I think it is. It works on any plan, but most people choose the annual plan. I do send out reminders, so you're not going to have any surprise charges. And I am a one-man operation. I'm pretty flexible. If somebody forgot about it or whatever, I know how subscriptions work. Email me and I'll, like, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll get it taken care of, kind of thing. But I do send out an email 2 weeks prior to any renewals. Also, I have webinars that I host twice a month right now. You're welcome to join me on that. Ask me any questions. I get into the idea with those webinars. A few of the people here have been on them. Was to kind of showcase what's new, and it's kind of transformed into just a Q&A, where people have problems, and I try to help them out and figure out how I can get them up and running, kind of thing. And I'm more than happy to do that, because I don't want people to be frustrated with their devices. So that's really what it turns out to be. So, with members, you can always ask me. Let's go back to that iCloud question with, contacts. Um, you know, I hand a personal touch. I don't have a lot of questions. It's not overwhelming to me yet. So when somebody does have a problem, I just go back and forth. Joan, kind of knows this with some of the members. I'll try to help out and figure it out. But yeah, so that's my thing. If you want to join, it's good through the end of November. And it is Mohalo, M-O-H. I think I got it right. Anyway, I looked it up, so it should be good.